This is Congressman Sam B. Hall, Jr. reporting to you from Washington. If you are one of our regular listeners on this program, you know that I feel very strongly over the right of our children to participate in school prayer. Unfortunately, as far as I'm concerned, efforts by myself and others to gain congressional approval for the prayer amendment to the Constitution have not succeeded. But I want to report some progress. Just recently, the House of Representatives voted by a wide margin to allow students to hold religious meetings in public high school buildings before and after hours. The struggle to gain passage of such a measure has been a long time in arriving. In fact, over 20 years. Because it's been over 20 years since the United States Supreme Court issued an edict denying prayer in public schools. But it goes to show if you have the courage of your convictions and are willing to fight for what's right, then truth will ultimately prevail. The measure passed by the House was actually an amendment to another bill, the National Mathematics and Science Education Act, which at that time was under consideration on the House floor. What the House did was to accept a Senate version of the bill, which would give students the right to conduct religious meetings on school grounds when school has adjourned for the day. One reason the successful passage of this amendment was significant is that earlier this year the House actually rejected a comparable amendment. In short, this is a victory for all of us who feel that prayer has a place in our schools. It puts religious liberty back in the mainstream of legitimate school activities by giving students access to school buildings for organized prayer or religious activities. However, as far as I'm concerned, it's just one step in a series of steps that are needed to ultimately get prayer back in the schools. You know, many opponents of school prayer argue, as did the Supreme Court 20 years ago, that school prayer violates the constitutional mandate on separation of church and states. But I don't believe our forefathers ever intended for us to have freedom from religion. They prescribed for us freedom of religion. It is just incredible to me that when so many of our nation's symbols contain references to God, that children cannot even mention His name in public school prayer. In fact, the situation has gotten so bad until documentation before the Senate Judiciary Committee pointed out that one school superintendent declared that a group of 2 or more students could not even sit together and discuss religion. Worse still, in one of the nation's largest cities, students were reprimanded because they talked about their faith and shared a small booklet that had Bible verses in it. Well, I, for one, feel that a nation that turns from God by discouraging its children from worshiping Him is a nation in trouble. Congress has taken a tremendous step to reverse this process, and I am proud of my role in this effort. This is Congressman Sam B. Hall, Jr. reporting to you from Washington. Thank you for listening.